We're in Psalm 25, and I want to pick it up in verse 8. Today we're going to focus on verse 11 and maybe into 12, but let's get the sense of it in this paragraph. Good and upright is the Lord, therefore will he teach sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment, the meek will he teach his way. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. So God's way for you is good. That's what we talked about yesterday. And that includes God's commands, by the way. If he commands it, it's for your best interest. God doesn't have a large library of commands in heaven, but nobody to keep them. And so he decided to create people to keep his commands. That's not how it works, okay? He has a heart of love. And he created you and life, and he created some boundaries for your blessing and flourishing, and his commandments keep you in those boundaries. And when you break those commands and when you fall away, his grace and his mercy pick you back up. And there's a soft landing in God's grace and in God's covenant. And that's what we're going to see today. So all the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. Verse 11 is today. For thy name's sake, O Lord, pardon my iniquity, for it is great. Okay, so David is coming back to his sin. He said it earlier, verse 7, remember not the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions. So he said, God, don't remember who I am, just remember who you are. When you look at me, remember who you are. You're a God of mercy. You're a God of grace. You're a God of loving kindness. So God, let your goodness fall on me, not because I'm good, but because you are. That's what for thy name's sake means. God, David is saying, God, it glorifies you to forgive me because you are good. That's why the gospel is so one-sided love. It's such a one-way love from God to me. If I'm bringing my goodness to God, then that glorifies me. I can't save myself. No, it's because of his name. It's because of his goodness and his glory. So for thy name's sake, David says, O Lord, pardon my iniquity. Now, pardon. What does that even mean? Well, it's a judicial term. In fact, let me just look it up here real quick, make sure that I get the Hebrew sense of it. It's literally to forgive, salah, to forgive, to release, or to be forgiven. So in our modern vernacular, it's a judicial term. Someone that's guilty before a judge, a perfect, pure, holy judge in this sense, and absolute guilt. By the way, he says it is great. We'll come to that in a minute. So this is big guilt. This is great guilt. This is massive guilt, okay? So the pardon is massive. And what he's asking for from God, from any other judge in any other context, is absolutely unthinkable. So this is a huge pardon. One of the growing points or places of the Christian life is that the longer I know Jesus, the bigger he becomes. Why is that? The bigger the gospel becomes, the bigger grace becomes. Well, partly because the more I walk with him, the larger I understand my sin to be. And that's where David is right here in this verse. God, pardon my iniquity. Iniquity is sin. It's another word for breaking God's laws. It is perversity. It is evil. It's fault. And the punishment that comes along with it. So, yeah, we've all sinned and come short of the glory of God. No one is perfect, not you, not me. And what David is saying here is our iniquity is greater than we first thought, greater than we really understand, for it is great. What is he talking about when he says, pardon my iniquity, for it is great? The idea of great is just what it sounds like. It's many, it's much, it's abundant, it's numerous, it's massive. David, at this point in his life, he's not saying, I sinned one sin that was really big. He's saying, I'm a prolific sinner, and I've been sinning so proficiently and so repetitively throughout my life that by this stage of my life, looking back, the sins of my past, the sins of my present are bigger than I can really calculate. So is this a shame fest? Is this a guilt fest? No, it's a pardon celebration. God is not shaming and guilting me, but he is humbling me, okay? He is letting me know, David is living with the sense that he is so far below water, he's so far sunken into the pit of his own sin, that there is no deliverance, there is no hope of his own behavior to dig himself out, to get himself out. There's only hope if God is merciful, if God is good, if God is a God of pardon. Well, this is where the celebration is. You can never fall so far that God's grace won't save you. You can never be so far from God that he's not a quick turn and you can run into his arms. He is always one breath away, one prayer away, one act of humility away, one admission and one request. Think of the thief on the cross who was reviling Jesus, but then began to see and realize who he was. And finally he said, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus, on that one phrase, no behavior, no past performance record, nothing but great iniquity, but that one humble admission, your Lord, I am not. Would you remember me? And Jesus said, today you will be with me in paradise. My friend, I don't know where you are. I don't know where this devotion finds you, but maybe Satan is, as he does, a prolific accuser, a reminder of your long track record of sin. Well, if you've never trusted Jesus, turn to him and ask him for a pardon. God, forgive me based on your mercy. That mercy was poured out through Jesus on the cross. Jesus died and rose again for you, and his salvation is free for the claiming. A pardon is there. It's already paid. You simply ask. You receive it by faith. Jesus, pardon me. I trust you. I need you. But my friend, if you are a believer and you think God is following you with a baseball bat and ready to whack you for all the ways you failed him, you're looking at it the wrong way. Come back to the cross over and over and over again. This is where the gospel doesn't just save you once in that judicial new birth way, that new life way. No, every day you are washed in the mercy and the grace of God. Every day your sin, you have an advocate, Jesus Christ the righteous, who stands before you as a defender in heaven, as a defense attorney. And every sin and every failure and every time you stumble, he holds up the nail-pierced hands and says, I have covered that sin. Cary is under my grace. He's mine. He belongs to me. And you live, you live out of that pardon every day. And that grace that saves you continues to shape you in humility. So, my friend, live out of that pardon today. Thank God for the cross. Thank God for his mercy. Yes, our sin is great, but the pardon is all the greater. So that's enough for today. Happy Friday. I hope to see you this weekend. And if not, we'll reconnect on Monday. Have a great weekend.